Hello there, and welcome back to Toolbox Talks on the SiteShed podcast. You are joining us today for the second part of the series that we have titled The Successful Way to Build a Modern Team. I'm joined with my co-host here, Adrian Fedini from Trained Group, and this episode stems on from the previous one, which we titled Attracting the Right Team Members. This episode is called Keeping Them Striving, so enjoy. Hey SiteShedders, let me ask you something. If you could travel the world to amazing locations and do it in a way that you could claim it as a business expense, would that sound like a good idea to you? Well, let me tell you about a little program that we've got running at the SiteShed. Back in 2016, we kicked off our Travel and Learn program, and the first one we did was Ski and Learn in New Zealand. We took a bunch of SiteShed listeners and podcast trade business enthusiasts over to Wanaka, and we skied in the morning. We did a business workshop in the afternoon, and we did that for a week. And only in February of 2018, we did the second one in Hakuba in Japan, where we took a bunch of SiteShed enthusiasts across to Japan, and we skied in the morning, we did a business workshop in the afternoon. And guys, the reason we put this program together is because, we know it's hard as business owners, as trade business owners, when you're tied to location. It's very hard to get away to amazing, destinations around the world. And more to the point, when you do want to travel, you often do it in a way that you want to make sure that it's justifiable from a business point of view. So we thought, why not combine the two? Why not make an amazing business experience and an amazing holiday tied into one? So that's what we've done. And these Travel and Learn programs are so fantastic. And you can head across to the siteshed.com/events to check out what's been in the past and what's coming up in the future. But what I want to talk to you today about is the one that's coming up in July, which is the very first Surf and Learn program. And that Surf and Learn program is going to be held in the Maldives. That's right, we're taking a group of SiteShedders over to the Maldives, and we're going to be doing the full boat experience, which is going to be amazing. It's a bucket list item for a lot of people. We've chartered a luxury yacht, and we're going to be spending 7 nights on a yacht, touring around the Maldives, around the atolls there, surfing amazing locations, diving, snorkeling, hanging out, having a great time. And of course, we're going to be running a business workshop in there as well. So you'll be able to invest in your business in a beautiful, beautiful location while sitting on a luxury yacht in the Maldives. So it sounds like a pretty good opportunity, I am sure, to a lot of you guys out there. The caveat is, of course, that we're going to be on a boat, and boats have limited space. As it stands, we only have about 5 spots left. So if it sounds like something you want to do, head across to the siteshed.com/events. And you can navigate towards the Surf and Learn Maldives page there, where you'll be able to see all the information relevant to the trip. And of course, you'll be able to secure your position with a deposit. Anyway, that's all from me. Hopefully I'll see you there. But otherwise, we'll hopefully see you at one of the future events. We're going to be doing a lot of these. So ski, surf, ski, surf, ski, surf. And we may be throwing in a few other ones in between. So that's all from me.
Giving tradies and contractors around the globe the tools to run a modern business. You're listening to Toolbox Talks from the SiteShed. Now here's your host, Matt Jones.
Hello, listeners, and welcome back to Toolbox Talks on the SiteShed podcast. My name is Matt Jones, and you're joining us today for the second part of the 3-part series that I'm recording with Adrian Fedini from Trained Group. The series is titled The Successful Way to Build a Modern Team. And the first episode, we spoke about attracting the right team members. And in this episode, we're talking about how to keep those team members striving and how to keep them hungry. Adrian, welcome back to the microphone.
Thank you very much, Matt. Great to be back.
Yes, and we're actually recording this on Anzac Day, which in Australia is a public holiday. So that just goes to show how dedicated we are.
Absolutely.
So, Adrian, in the last episode, we were talking about attracting the right team members. And obviously, that is kind of, I suppose, that's an important point of conversation before we go down the road of talking about how to keep the team members striving and how to keep them hungry. But I'm interested to, would you like to give the listeners a bit of a recap on that first episode for us?
Yeah, absolutely. So we were talking about basically how to attract the right team members. Number one, it always starts with you. Rather than putting the foot of blame or responsibility at the market, we often hear it that there's no good staff out there. All the good ones have got jobs. That as soon as you do that, you become powerless. You can't change anything. You're pointing your finger and you're blaming rather than actually taking responsibility. So step one is, what can I do to become attractive as a business owner and a leader? And what can I do to make my business attractive to people that may be looking for a new career opportunity?
So if you want to learn how to become more attractive, go and listen to episode 1.
Exactly right.
Classic. Cool. So look, in this episode, we're going to jump a little bit more into, I suppose, the reality of what we need to do once they have become a team member. And I mean, I know that I've been like in a scenario with a job back in the day when I had a job, Shutter. But I was when I started that position, I was excited and I was really looking forward to it. I had lots of good ideas and was just really in the zone. And then throughout time, I became less and less motivated to the point where I started resenting it, and I just ended up really hating that position and couldn't jump and get any excuse to leave. So I think from a business owner's perspective, it's really important to understand that dynamic will exist if you don't offer a segue or some sort of motivation to keep your staff wanting to be there and keep them hungry and keep them, investing in your business and, investing in the team, more importantly. So I suppose what I'm really curious about in this episode, Adrian, is who is this one directed at? Are we talking here to business owners? Are we talking to employees, managers?
Look, I think this conversation is for team members as much as business owners, but specifically probably business owners with at least, say, 3 to 5 staff and above.
Yeah, because at that point, it kind of starts getting hard, doesn't it? Like, there's a lot of people. There's starting to be a lot of people to manage, and there's a lot of different personalities, and you kind of got to go from that role where you're, very often in a 3-man team, you're sort of buddy with everyone, and then you kind of got to move when you get to a 5-man team into more of a leadership position, and I suppose the lines start getting blurred a bit.
Absolutely. Look, it's when you're like in that smaller team, there's a different culture. You probably knew the guys before they actually came to work with you. As you start to get to that 5-man and above size team, you probably didn't know them apart from once they kind of applied for the position. And you need to lead more from an arm's length and understand that basically that former way of being no longer is going to work. You have to go and shift the way you're being.
Does that create a lot of animosity, in your experience with people that may have been working for, you for a while, and all of a sudden you've got to sort of change the way you communicate with them. You've got to, change like all this stuff. Like, do people get the shit for that?
Look, there definitely some people do get the shit, so to say, but I think it all comes back to communication. If people can take a bit of perspective and step back as a team member, and look, the business has grown. When I was with pretending you're the boss, Matt, when I was with Matt, and then there was only 3 of us, and now there's 7 of us. Common sense, but you can't just assume they understand that. You've got to have a conversation on one-on-one. In fact, that's probably actually point 1 that I want to get onto in a second, about giving them that formality and that way to communicate with them on what's going on, why things are changing, and where they are in the mix of the whole business.
Yeah, I've heard mixed reviews about, well, how would you say, like, the performance style reviews. So, I mean, I've been in those scenarios before where you'll go work 3 months somewhere, then they have like a 3-month performance review, and they sit down there and they go over all the things that you've done wrong over the last 3 months. And to me, I kind of think that's a bit of a jaded way to attack it from a business owner's perspective. It seems like a way to sort of avoid paying them a bonus or something.
Yeah.
Do you, in your experience, are you sort of the same opinion where, if something's wrong, you should be tackling it, then and there?
Yeah, look, it's a great question. We've recently partnered up with, I don't know if Peter Cox has been on the podcast at all.
Yeah.
Peter Cox is a leadership expert, and we've taken on board the one-on-one and basically the leadership dynamics system of basically how to do the one-on-ones.
Mm-hmm.
So look, it can't be all negative. It's got to be definitely some stuff where you're doing well and where you're kicking goals, and also too, you need to show those areas where you need to improve as well. So it's got to be balanced. It can't be all negative, and then, like you say, don't pay a balance, because that's just short. That's a short-sighted vision that absolutely breeds discontent, and people will go back to the old mentality of churn and burn and look for the first opportunity to jump off the bus.
Do you find as well, I suppose, while we're talking about that, and keeping them striving and keeping them, accountable, and, giving them feedback on things they're doing right, giving them feedback on things they maybe could be doing better, Do you think that ties into the way that you've attracted the staff member, the way you've onboarded them and handled that expectation from the onset? These are what your metrics are. These are your KPIs. This is the job role. This is your description. This is what we expect. This is what you should deliver.
Yep.
Like, I feel like in a lot of cases, so many of these awkward conversations could be avoided if the awkward conversation had been had up front.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, it's funny. Even we all get busy, and even myself, I've had this happen to me, and not even that long ago. We don't set the way that I like to do it. You have a business has the departments, then the roles, and then let's say you come on in a certain role in the business, you need to know what your responsibilities are. Okay, so you might have 3 to 5 key responsibilities, and then under those responsibilities, you'll have the processes to follow to go and execute those responsibilities. So if you come into a business and you've been employed, let's say again as a plumber, but you haven't been told exactly what your responsibilities are, how can you possibly excel when you don't know what the rules of the game are? So the number one thing as a business owner, we should be laying out very clear lines of this is what we expect, this is how we would like it done, and then basically we give you feedback on it could be every month, it could be every 3 months, depending on the frequency and on how you're tracking in regards to those responsibilities.
But in terms of, I suppose, that's good, I suppose, in the sense that, okay, then we're going to have a 3-monthly meeting and we can give you a review. But like if I'm a staff member, I would want to know within 3 months. And I imagine if you're a business that's trying to turn dollars, and if I've got a staff member that's not doing the right thing, I'd want to be telling them as well that, they need to be doing this, this, and this in order to, get that outcome quicker and better.
Yeah, any new employee or a new team member should be getting one-on-ones monthly. You can't come in day one, not get any feedback until month 3, and then find out you need to do things a different way. I just think that's just way too long a time period. Maybe if someone's been in the business for 4 or 5 years, absolutely 3 months is fine because they obviously know the culture, they know the process, and so on. But if you're brand new, you need to be getting monthly feedback.
I know there's like of late, as you and I both have been putting a lot of emphasis and a lot of work on business scaling and things like employing systems and processes and project management tools and just things that basically can help people become more accountable to their role and their responsibilities and then to the organisation as well. Do you feel like I've had mixed experiences with this in the past. I've been in scenarios where I've always responded quite well to that. Like I like having that sort of stuff in place because it gives you sort of a benchmark to be able to scale from. However, I've also been in scenarios where organisations have implemented things like that, and as a result of doing so, some of the staff members have almost taken an offence to it and as a result, sort of thrown the towel in. So I guess that might come back to what you were saying before about, finding the right team members and the personality profiles and all that kind of stuff. Do you find that's a problem that may happen?
It's all in the delivery.
Right.
If all of a sudden someone's been a team member for 5 years and then tomorrow without any pre-consultation you go, bang, here's the new rules to follow.
Right.
Of course, that's going to put someone, put them off and upset them. But if you involve them in setting those rules from day one, I don't like the words rules. Sorry. If you engage them from day one to decide, okay, you know what your role is. You've been with the team for 3 or 4 years. This is not with new staff. This is with team members that have been with you for some time, and you're going to actually go from not having something to follow to having something to follow. Engage all the stakeholders, because when you come down, if you kind of decree it from the office, hey, this is what you need to do, you get nothing but resistance. But if you have a couple of half-day workshops where you bring everybody in, you get them all on the same page, all the stakeholders have had a chance to say what they like or what they don't like. And then you've got engagement, you've got buy-in. And it does take a bit of time and effort. It will take you probably at least 2 half days to get that done. But those 2 half days will be a fraction of the cost of basically going to have to go and look for new team members that because someone's decided to quit because they're not happy about the new rules.
Yeah, and you know what? You're definitely not the first person that I've heard say that. And I think there's a lot of power in that because as well, you've got to look at it from a proactive point of view. If you've got, so you're trying to build systems and processes into your organisation to improve the way that things run. Like if you can help your staff improve the way they're doing things, then they'll be happy about it. But the reality is, they're the ones out there doing it. So by giving them a say in how it's delivered and how that process is created, and then also giving them a say in how it can be approved,
it also it sort of makes them take ownership of it a little bit better, and it sort of makes
100%.
them. I mean, it sort of changes the dynamic from you giving them an instruction to them trying to streamline the way they currently work.
Absolutely. Look, there's the one biggest obstacle to this is the fear of the business owner. Because the business owner will go, if I ask them what they want to do, they think of worst case scenario, and it's never the case. If it's facilitated, and I know what we're suggesting takes time and effort, what I recommend is delegate it to someone like ourselves, because we can go and sit there as a facilitator and get the best outcome for the team as well as the best outcome for the business owner.
Yeah.
We interrupt this podcast today to talk to you very quickly about Tradie Web Guys' content creation program. That program has been designed specifically for trade-based organisations as a way that you guys as trade business owners can start creating content that enables you to engage better with your customers and your potential customers. It will enable you to build trust and build rapport, because what you're doing is you're investing in educating them. Biggest problem that we see with our customers today is that they're not regularly updating their websites. And that's a problem because, first of all, the search engines are looking for that. And second of all, potential customers are also looking for it. Tradie Web Guys' content creation program has been specifically designed to help you get regular, relevant content on your website consistently every month. We know that it's hard when you're out there on the tools, and we know that sometimes you don't always have the time to be able to do these things yourself. So we're taking it off your hands for you. It's a service that we're offering for you guys. We want to make sure that you're getting this done because we know how important it is. Anyway, head across to tradiewebguys.com.au/content, fill in the form, and one of our representatives will come back to you.
Once the business owner can get over that potential fear of, being vulnerable and being open to asking for feedback on how they could do stuff inside the business better, it just opens up engagement through the roof. And then the business owner wants leverage and wants time. When the actual team knows what to do and they own the process, that's when the actual business owner gets that leverage and time back.
Okay, cool. Well, look, I didn't want to get too caught up on that. I mean, I know we could probably end up talking an entire podcast series on that alone, but I wanted to sort of segue a little bit more into training and support. And I suppose upskilling your staff and basically, making them feel valued by, I suppose, keeping a vested interest in, their progress. What's your take on that?
I love a quote from Richard Branson. It goes, train your team well enough so they can leave you and treat them good enough so they'll never want to. And I subscribe to that every single day of the week.
Yeah.
We created a new kind of training package beginning of this year where we've got one single training on every single month, different topics. It'll be around sales or knowing your numbers or strategic planning or marketing or customer service and so on. The list goes on. And basically the whole point is what we've noticed in the market is there's so many companies out there that are business coaches and coach the owner. But the owner's 5% of the entire business. Well, it's probably more than 5%. But my point is, in numbers point of view, you still might have 5 or 10 other staff members that are not getting upskilled, trained, coached, mentored, led. And when you start to go and invest with them and come in and do training once a month, the engagement goes through the roof. They go, oh my goodness, the boss is actually spending money and time on me for me to grow. These skills will be with me forever. And the engagement has been, the results we've seen this year have been phenomenal. They've just gone straight through the roof. And not only have they improved their output and their productivity, they've also started to attract other people that are feeling disillusioned, other team members from other businesses, because they're feeling disillusioned that they're not part of a team and coming across it and getting on board with some of our clients.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, I suppose that's a bit of a paradigm shift too for a lot of owners as well, isn't it?
Yeah, well, look, everyone knows you need to do training. And we go, I'll do it later. Yeah. So instead of just putting it off and trying to do it once a week, and the business owner sitting there going, what should I do this week? I've got to do some training. And then all it ends up being, when they do actually do it, is a bit of a chat in the workshop or something along those lines. So, we believe delegate it to someone else. It doesn't have to be us. Delegate it to anybody else, as long as you're getting it in there regularly. It's like exercise. You can't go and do one big day of exercise in 2008 and be fit in 2018. It's got to be regular. It's got to be consistent. It's got to be appropriate and connected to what they're doing. And then it makes a huge, profound impact on the business and the individuals as well.
Yeah, I heard a similar quote, actually. It was professional development, personal development is like showering. You don't just do it once and say it's done.
I had a plumber mate of mine. I'll throw him under a bus. His name's Andre, and he used to say to us, "I change my bed sheets once a month if they need it or not." So that was quite funny.
Classic. So, what are some of the, I suppose, fundamental areas of training and support and skill development that you see the biggest advantages of for team members, not directors and not managers, but team members?
Human behaviour. So how to communicate, how to have empathy and understand other people's positions and situations, how to stop being a technically minded person and understand more about how the other person's feeling and thinking gives you so much. It's like your EQ. It's exactly what we actually have assessments to measure EQ. We call it emotional quotient assessment.
What's EQ? Sorry, what?
Emotional quotient.
Okay.
Basically, an EQ. That's what EQ. It's just to measure the level of your emotional intelligence, and it is a phenomenal, well-rounded. Not only does it make them better at work. So there's so many upsides. It makes them communicate better to clients. It makes them communicate better to the team members. It actually makes them a better brother, sister, mother, father. You know, it makes them a better human being across the park. So I get a bit, you know me, I get a bit inspired and a bit emotional, but it really makes a profound difference to their whole well-being, and it's what you and I are all about, man.
So tell me then, moving along, what's your take on things like incentives? And I'm not just necessarily talking about financial incentives. I'm just talking about incentives as a whole. It could be benefits or allowances. It could be rewards of some description. It could be a day off. It could be, I don't know, whatever. But I mean, when we're talking about keeping staff striving and keeping team members striving, I mean, some people are motivated by, I suppose, money. Some people aren't. But what's your take on that?
Yeah, look, amazing question. So there's a guy called Maslow. Maslow was, I think he was a philosopher or anyway, scientist or something, and he had this hierarchy of needs, and I think it was number 2 or number 3 is one of the hierarchy of needs of an individual is belonging.
Yeah.
Right? So this is why human beings want to belong to, back in the old days, a tribe, or a community or a village, no different to your team. So they want to be involved in incentives, like you say. Maybe it's you'll go out and have a beer on a Friday. Obviously, you don't go and get plastered, be responsible about it, but go and have a beer where you can bond and maybe go-karting or something else. Only it takes 2 hours on a Friday afternoon. Those incentives will actually provide you so much more return than just paying somebody extra.
Yeah.
When you start to pay people extra, it kind of divides and conquers. Not divides and conquers, just divides the team. You know, people start to go, oh, what are you on? People need to be paid well. There's no doubt about it. They have to be paid well. But when you just base it all on money, most people aren't necessarily 100% motivated by money. And someone, even when someone says, I am motivated by money, the question I ask, and this is a really powerful question, when you get that money, what would you like to spend it on? So if they say, I want to save that money or invest it or into property or something like that along those lines, then they're really motivated by money. But when they say, I want to go and buy new fishing gear, or I want to go on a holiday, or I want to go surfing in the Maldives, then you know what it is. There you go, mate.
And for anybody that is here would enjoy surfing in the Maldives, may I remind you that the Sideshow has a surf and learn program coming up in July in the Maldives.
Thank you later, mate.
More information on the website.
My point being is, they'll say they're motivated by money, but the question you need to ask is, what do you want to spend that money on? That'll give you the true answer. It's a lot of the stuff we talk about is dealing with the explicit versus the implicit. So what's on the surface as opposed to what's underneath.
What's your take, Adrian? I know I've had a couple of guests on the show previously, and the one that comes to mind is Danny from BT Academy, and he was talking about when he employed one of his staff members. They sat down and at the onset, like in the initial conversation, they had a conversation around where she wants to be in the next 5 years. Yep. At the time, she was a single girl. She was renting an apartment in somewhere in Canada, in Calgary, I think it was. And they basically said, okay, well, in 5 years, what are your life goals? Okay, ideally, I'd like to have a life partner, or I'd like to, own a house or have a mortgage or something. And that gave them, from a striving point of view, it enabled them to set a game plan. And from Danny's point of view too, he was able to then go, okay, well, cool. Now what we can do is we can put some little steps in play here, which will help you get to that point using our business as the vehicle.
Yeah, 100%. Look, I'll touch on this because it's probably going to be our next episode as well. But what we've already done, from day one, you need to have a career path.
Yeah,
I think you've heard that a million times. The next thing that I would add to the mix, and I really do think this is for the next episode, you also need to show them a wealth path. So you hear every day that plumbers, electricians and air conditioning mechanics, they go work for someone for a few years and then they go start their own business.
Yeah.
The majority of the reasons is they want to go and do it on their own to go and build wealth. So if you can show them a way where they can go and earn good money, get paid good bonuses, then they go, oh, now I'm paying too much tax. Then if you can partner up with an external provider that can give them quality, sound wealth creation advice, that just changes the game. And we're doing that with some of our clients already. That just changes the whole mix completely.
Okay, cool. Well, look, why don't we just, with that in mind, maybe call this episode to a close, and we'll come back next week with the following one, which is going to be, it's not a job, it's a career. And and basically talking a little bit more in depth on what you just mentioned then. What do you say?
Fantastic, mate.
All right, rock and roll. Well, there you go, listeners. That's the second part of the Successful Way to Build a Modern Team podcast series with Adrian Fedini from Train Group. If you want to get a hold of Adrian, you can do so through the show notes. Otherwise, stay tuned. We are looking forward to coming back to you with the third and final episode, which is going to be Not a Job, a Career. If you've got any comments or got any questions, by all means, leave it wherever you have heard or seen this podcast, be that through the emails, social media, iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, Spotify, wherever you listen to it. And we will endeavour to get those questions answered for you. Failing that, Adrian is a very active member in the Facebook community. So if you've got any questions, you can always ask them personally to him in there. All right, rock and roll.
Thank you for listening to another episode of Toolbox Talks. If you're liking what you hear, then you can head across to the siteshed.com where you can join our community by signing up to our Toolbox Talks. You'll get sent a weekly notification, which is basically a highlight of everything that we've spoken about during that week, along with any other industry news that may be relevant or specific to the trades. If you're enjoying the show, you can head across to iTunes, Stitcher, or SoundCloud, where you can leave us a review. That would be fantastic, and all the reviews get read out in the show. Likewise, if you have any friends or colleagues that you think would benefit from the show and the episodes that we create, then please go ahead and share it with them.